I want to welcome you to our reopening first parent town hall. I'm going to share with you the purpose of why we're meeting. I hope you enjoyed the videos. We always like to start with the video celebrating the great things that are happening at MAST with our students. And you can always find those on our YouTube page or on our website. Today, we're going to start as usual. We always like to create good energy when we first begin any meeting or instruction. So we're going to do an energizer. I'm going to share with you the reopening options that MAST is considering. I'd like your feedback on which model you would like as parents, as well as any other concerns that I can take back to my meetings that we have with the First Deputy Chancellor or the Chancellor weekly. I'm going to share with you the learning models in hybrid classes and give you a little bit of information about like all these different terminologies that you keep getting in the chancellor's letters or in things that we send to you. We want to create a parent empowerment team so that as we're getting information from the city, information from the DOE, we could have parents that we can share this information with and get feedback to represent the parent body in terms of things we should consider, things we might want to do, so forth and so on. And then you will have the opportunity to actually select your learning preference in terms of what model you prefer your child personally to go to in this session as well. And then following this meeting, if you so choose, there's a citywide meeting where you can give your input in terms of family and student, as family and students, and get information about citywide what's happening. So we will make sure that you have access to all of those links in this meeting. If you have any questions while we're meeting, please put them in the chat. Ms. Slinger will monitor it and we will answer those questions as we go through, and also there'll be a designated time for questions and answers. I just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us this evening and to share information with you. Oh, by the way, I'm Ms. Thompson-Young. Hi. Principal of MAST, for those of you who I may not have interacted with before, but I think most of you I have, unless you're a new parent. So there are 5 of you inside the Nearpod. You can also answer this question inside the chat. So this is our energizer. If you had 25 hours in a day, how would you use your extra time? For those of you already linked in the chat, you're going to go ahead and click in that text box and tell us how would you use that extra hour if there were 25 hours in a day. Relaxing, okay. If you want to put your answers in the chat, you can. Oh, Carly and Casarino, yay, welcome, welcome. And if there's students here using Nearpod, feel free to help your parents or guardians out and drop your comments in the chat or inside our actual Nearpod. Anybody else?
Someone said, spend my time happy, happy the community.
Spend my time helping the community, probably. That's
community. Miss Monique said, get some rest. Miss Ivy says, spending time with my family.
Right. Oh, yes. Miss, I'm putting your information that you have in the chat.
Miss De La Rosa said, reading on what's going on in the world.
Because I said spending time with my family.
Miss Carolyn said I will help my child with getting caught up with his schoolwork. Miss Aruna, hi Sean's mom.
Hi, Sean.
We miss you. Spending time with her family. And of course, cooking too, I hear.
Alrighty, just giving it 10 more seconds. So as many of you know, this is one of the formats that we use for teaching and learning in terms of making sure that everyone's voice is heard. And we will continue to do this collaboration. For those of you who put stuff in the chat, I just put it up so that we could all see it together since all of you can see my screen. I see some quality time with family is a common theme. A couple people have sleep and rest and self-care, getting caught up with schoolwork or doing fun stuff, and reading. Super important. Thank you for sharing, everybody. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the plans for next year as we know today. I want to start with the caveat that we live in an ever-changing time. What is apropos today may not be apropos tomorrow in terms of what the plans are, especially with the nature of COVID. So as I get information, or as we as a school community get information, we will continue to update you. We try not to annoy you with any more than like 2 text messages a day, but there's constant information coming in. So please continue to check those text messages that we send you via Kinvo and open up those documents, because they usually have information that may help you personally or professionally, or it has something to do with the school community to update you. And we have a principals meeting on Thursday. So if we have anything that changes between now and then in terms of reopening, I will definitely let you guys know, and we will have more of these kinds of meetings so you know and are up to date with what's taking place. If you hear barking in the background, that's my dog Oreo. Apologies. So thinking a little bit about like the context of the school building reopening plan. As of today, the Department of Education will have a combination of in-person and remote learning options for families. Based on our constraints in the building, because each building, no matter where you are, based on the social distancing and CDC guidelines, can only hold a certain number of students at one given time. Because of that, we have to create a special plan on which group of those students will come to school when, for those of you who may choose to send your child to school, or you also have the option of just doing remote learning. There is a chance that depending on the nature of COVID, it may just be remote learning, but for right now, we are to select one of these plans, and the purpose of this meeting is in part to get your feedback on what you would like and to address some of the questions or concerns you may have. With the rules for the spacing distance, most of our classrooms can only hold 9 to 12 students based on the guidelines. Typically, they can hold up to 34, but because they have to be 6 feet apart, so forth and so on, most of our classrooms will only hold 9 to 12 at one time. So we have to sort of repurpose the space and reallocate the space and our school schedule, things of that nature, to make it work. So for example, for some of you who may be familiar with our school, if we were to go into someone like Miss 211, for example, is Mr. Knox's math classroom, which is kind of an average class size. According to the DOE and the specifications they gave us, only 9 to 12 students could fit there. In a larger classroom, for example, like a science lab or room like what Ms. Slinger had in 223, which is a large room, it can fit about 45, 50 people, but the limit is 17 to 22 at one given time. So we have received this chart that tells us how many we can have in each room at one time. And that's what we're going by in terms of the plans that we're going to present to you. Remember, if I'm presenting and you have a question, put it in the chat. Ms. Slinger will bring it to my attention and I will be able to address it. and or you can wait for the Q&A as we go through. So there are about 3 to 4 different models. These are the 2 that MAST is primarily focusing on, because the other models include breaking up the kids in so many different groups that they won't have a consistent day that they always come to school. So with these 2 models, 1A and 1B, we value your opinion and we want to explain what these models mean. So I'm going to go to the next slide and then come back. So if you look at 1A and 1B, let me share what they have in common and what they're different. So both of them have 2 in-person cohorts, 1 remote, meaning there will be a group A and a group B in both of these plans, and a group D that's always learning remotely from home. Okay? The other the distinction between these are that in group A, in model 1A, essentially students come to school, those who would be coming into school every other day, versus 1B, where they be coming 2 days in a row on the same day all the time between Tuesday and Friday, and the only day that changes is on a Monday based on the week. This model is every other day. This model brings them together. So let's say there's something that's challenging and they need feedback. This model will allow them to be able to come the next day and get that feedback sort of right away, as opposed to have to waiting a day. And also, in particular, if there are students who are struggling or need extra support, they can also get extra help, for example, during week 1s, where group A has 3 days in a row during that first week. Other things to note, again, is that group D is remote every day, which is an option that you have as a parent based on what's happening in the world. So if you guys have, I don't think you need MAST accounts for this. I think we left this open. We would like you to complete this at this time on your computer, on your phone, and tell us what you would prefer. Before we begin this, I'm going to just have us have a space to actually talk about it, and then we can go back. And you can unmute your mic if you have a question about it, or you can actually write which one you like, 1A or 1B, in this chat, in the Nearpod chat, or in our Zoom chat. Or you can unmute your mic and share, or ask a question.
I have a question. So the students that actually decide to go to school and they have either every other day, or the way you had it, every 2 days and 2 days, the days that they're not going to school, are they doing remote learning, or is it only going to be those days?
No, so in the model that MAST is doing, they have school every day, but they will be coming into a physical building, 2 to 3 days a week.
Okay.
That's a very good question.
Okay, thank you.
Question about this model. Would you like me to put the model back so you can kind of look at it, or does anyone have any questions or comments, or want to type something in the chat?
If we already answered that form, do we have to answer it again?
No, you don't. This is just giving you a forum to ask questions, to have them answered, and also to let you know, as of today, what the Department of Education is saying.
Okay.
Right?
All right. Thank you.
Can I see the chart? I'm sorry. Again.
So MAST is selecting between these 2 models. There are 2 other models, but the models break the kids up into too many small groups, and so they would never come to school on the same day each week. And one of the reasons we like this model is, no matter what, if I'm in group A, I know no matter what, I'm coming to school on Tuesday and Thursday, or I'm coming to school on Tuesday and Wednesday. In the other models, they break it up into smaller cohorts, and so depending on if it's week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, you'll be coming to school on different days, and it just gets confusing for kids. So this is why we prefer A or B, and we just wanted your feedback in terms of that, or remote, which obviously you will have the option to, and we will also give you the link in this presentation. If you're on with us right now, where you can literally select what you want for your child, especially for those of you who, for example, have a parent who prefers group D, which is no problem. And in this meeting, if you're signed on, if you don't mind putting the link in the chat one more time, Miss, did I give you the link? Oh, perfect, super fast. So you can write what you prefer, and then I will also connect you in this meeting to the DOE website where you can write that you want group D, which is basically remote learning if that's your preference.
And again, family, remember that when the students are not in person, that they are going to do remote learning at home the days they don't come to school.
So they still have 5 days
there-
no matter what.
So there's a 5-day option to have your child at home and remote learning.
Yes.
Okay.
That's group D.
Yeah, that's what I prefer.
So we're going to give you, Miss Ivory, we're going to give you that link in this meeting shortly, if you didn't do it already, okay?
Okay.
So the other thing that we noticed is that like there's a lot of terms, synchronous learning, asynchronous learning. So I want to make it very clear to you what those distinctions are and what they mean for both students and families. Excuse me. So asynchronous means basically it's not happening live, right? But there's lots of things that cannot be happening live. It's still assessing how students are doing, and a lot's time to do it. So they could have a discussion board, they can take a quiz, they might be doing a poll or a digital document on Google Classroom. They might be listening to a pre-recorded video or recorded slides with narration. We also have some self-paced course, for example, our SAT prep course that we have, and we have some other things like for some kids who may be in summer school where there's self-paced courses. Synchronous means it's happening together at the same time live. So virtual classroom, I'm presenting live, basically like this kind of meeting where I'm speaking to you real time, can answer things real time, can answer things live in the chat, in instant messaging, even if the quizzes and the polling I'm doing with you now will be live and has to be done sort of right away. So I just wanted to kind of make that distinction between asynchronous and synchronous and also give you a few more definitions. And if you have questions, remember to put it in the chat.
So one question that was asked is, in remote learning, will the student get to interact with the class while it's going on in the school? And yes, they will be. So if you looked at the model that Principal Thompson Young showed, even though Group D is home, they will still interact with, say, Group A when they're in person with the teacher and with the live instruction. So even though they'll be home, they'll still be in the classroom with the teacher live.
And even when they're, like let's say you're in brick and mortar in the classroom, because of social distancing rules, they may be in a group with somebody in remote learning because we can't group kids together even when we're at school because of COVID. So kids will be separated and they still have to sort of interact probably via computer or out loud with each other in connection with the kids who are in remote. Hopefully that makes sense. And I'm answering your question. Other terms that I kind of wanted you guys, you will have, you got links to this in the letter that we sent to you, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of terms if anyone had any questions. We talked about asynchronous, right? And synchronous, which is sort of live. Blended learning, which is part online learning, some student control, meaning there's a combination of that synchronous, this is live, but then I'm gonna go in my Google Classroom and work on this independently and I can kind of pace myself if that's what's designated by the teacher. Remote learning is essentially that you're not coming into school, but you're doing your work online, but you're still engaged in the classroom, but you're engaged from home, right? Face-to-face is kind of, you know, when we're in the physical school building. And hybrid learning is a combination of online and face-to-face, which is essentially the model that we will be picking, where you have a combination of remote and face-to-face. Other things, I think those are our most important technical terms that I kind of wanted you guys to have. You will also get, this will also be on our website in terms of this actual meeting, and documents that we share here will also be available to you. Just so you guys know, again, I'm Ms. Thompson Young. Our parent coordinator is Ms. Gonzalez. So if you have questions, her email is sgonzalez at our MAST handle at masths.org. So you can always send questions, concerns as they come up to Ms. Gonzalez, who will send it to us, and we will answer those questions in various formats. So what we'd like is, if this is where Ms. Ivory, you literally can utilize, click on this link. I'm going to ask you to drop this particular link in the chat as well, Ms. Slinger. And this is where you can choose if you want your child to be either in 100% learning or a combination of both, where you can literally click on it. You're going to click get started. You're going to put in your first and last name, phone number, email address, and this information. It's not going to let me continue without this information. And then you're essentially going to select. If you want to change your language, these are the languages available. So we're just going to give you guys a few minutes to, does anybody need time to fill out this form now? You want to just kind of get it done now while you're linked in? You can do that. Remember, it's also in the chat, so you can copy and paste that or click on it separately and also do it. So if you can put in the chat, I need time, or if not, and you'd like me to continue with the presentation, I can do that.
People, Ms. Tanya, fill it out before.
We can fill it out later, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Is there a certain time you would like it done by?
Well, the DOE asked it has to be done by August 7th. So that's why we wanted to give you the opportunity to do it here and now. But, you know, you can do it this evening because they kind of need to gauge where parents are, and we need to plan how to accommodate. Like I said, this is...
I mean, I don't want to hold anybody up, so I'll do it after.
Okay.
Not unless everybody wants to do it now.
If you need us to resend you the link, we will, like at the end of this meeting, because there's not many more slides to go through. It's just, this is like the first step. Then
yeah, I think I have the link. I clicked it on parent survey for school reopening models. I clicked that on, so I have that on my phone now. Awesome. I can fill it out after.
Awesome, awesome. So then I'm gonna move on, but we're gonna the information is in the link. There is another link that we sent you in that letter, where you can literally go in as citywide and meet if you're interested in just what's happening in the city. I also want to like reiterate to you that I'm going to a meeting this week. They just called like another, we usually have one, this is the second one. So I don't know if any status has changed, but as soon as we get any information in terms of that, we will let you know. And if you want to sign up for that, you literally can use this link to do that. Essentially, after this page, I just want to open the floor for questions and answers you may have. Ms. Slinger put in the chat this link, so you can literally click on this and join them at 6:30 this evening. And so I move on to this. You can literally click on it in the chat to move to any questions and questions you may have about these options.
Question, Miss Thompson.
Yes.
Even though like I said, my nephew did graduate from the school, that form, so I can still put down on the form, or it has to be somebody that's still in the school to fill out the form?
Yeah, definitely somebody that's still in the school, because they're when he's physically graduated in the system, they won't access his OSIS number or student ID number because it won't be in, and you're literally saying in the system when you click on it, my child is going to be going to this, and the DOE is going to record that as your preference.
Okay, so I might just disregard that one then.
Yes, you can disregard that one.
Okay, then thank you.
Anyone else have any other questions?
Ms. Noreen, what if you would like to change your student's learning preference later?
So they do allow for you to change the preference, but I think it's at designated times, right? So if you look here in changing preferences or going back, if after August 7th, any family who chose 100% learning will have the option to change back to blended learning at a specific a few specific times during the year. If no form is submitted for a child, the default is that they're going to be in blended learning. So especially if you feel more comfortable doing remote learning, you want to make sure you fill this out. Otherwise, they're going to assume that your child wants blended learning. Great question. Other questions? Okay, so if there are no other questions and hearts and minds are clear, we want you to know that we appreciate you for coming to this information session. We like to keep it short and sweet and keep you informed. We'll probably have another one next week letting you know what the model is that we will utilize. And if we have any updates in terms of if we're going to be remote learning, fully remote learning, the blended learning format, whatever it is, we will keep you informed. We also record these sessions and we put them on our YouTube page and on our website, so that if a family friend or someone else wants to be updated on what's going on, they can always go back and view our meetings on their own. So with that, I just want to thank everyone for coming and have a wonderful